So I'm sure you guys know who Blaire White is. You guys asked me a lot about Blaire White. We're going to be looking at a video entitled "Do I Regret Voting Trump?" We're going to be looking at some of the points she made and talking about them.
Cuts and Jobs Act. This was a move I love. The bill featured the largest tax cuts since 1986. It reduced the corporate tax rate from 35 to 21% and doubled the child tax credit. It also cut individual rates for people of all tax income levels.
So I'm not really sure how much she knows about these topics because it looks like she really just spent like 15 seconds talking about these certain topics that don't get into depth at all that we're going to be looking at, but you just saw the one about tax cuts. So basically, this whole tax cuts and jobs bill that she claims to support, which she doesn't state why she supports it. She just says it was good, which is intellectually lazy. But basically, Steve Mnuchin claimed that 90% of wage earners were going to be seeing an increase in their paychecks due to Trump's tax cuts. There was a poll that came out that said that 52% of the people 52% of the people in the poll said that they didn't see a raise in their paycheck. And on top of that, there was a plurality of them that said that it helped them a small amount. A plurality of the, I think it was 36% who said that they were, they had seen a raise, that it actually helped them a reasonable amount. So with Steve Mnuchin claiming that it was going to be over 90% or 90% of wage earners, that was just patently false. But additionally, the individual tax cuts for low-class and middle-class people are temporary while the corporate tax cuts are higher. She doesn't either go on to explain or at all explain or expand on why she supports a tax cut for corporations. I don't understand what the reasoning behind that is. What is the rationale? Who on planet Earth is arguing that corporations like Amazon or other corporations are paying too little taxes, which, by the way, Amazon paid $0 in federal taxes in this past year. And I don't know, even if they were paying taxes, who on planet Earth is saying those corporations are making too much fucking money and we need to lower their taxes? Why? No rationale behind it whatsoever. It's just, it's a big tax cut to the rich Americans that gives this little tiny thing to certain people who are low wage or middle class earners, which their tax cuts are temporary, but also there's going to be a deficit explosion. The CBO reported that by 2020 his deficits will be over $1 trillion now. If you guys know anything about deficits, you know that when Bush left office, the deficit was at 1.2 trillion. In Obama's final year, he brought it down to 400 billion. And the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, by the way, has estimated that it will be over $1 trillion in 2020. So not only is this, bad because they're just giving these blatant dumb tax cuts to rich people. Like, why would you remove the estate tax? What is the rationale behind it? What is the reasoning for that? What is the reasoning for lowering the corporate tax rate? Just saying that, this was good is really stupid. Now, maybe that's not the point of the video, but I don't understand why you would be in support of that. But also, it's not helping the little man. It's not helping little man. It's helping the big man. And lowering taxes is not a good idea. And as you're going to see, deficits, which Republicans claim to be, by the way, deficit hawks. I repeat, deficit hawks is now going to explode over $1 trillion.
Trump seeming to waver on DACA. Recently, Trump met at the White House with top Dems and Repubs and seemed very willing to make a deal to enable Dreamers to stay in the country. He called for a fix to the bill and said something of the sort of, it should be a bill of love, or something like that. Now, above anything else, what I think Trump won the election for was his hardline immigration stances, and this doesn't fall in line with that. I personally would have preferred a little more consistency with those principles.
Again, like I've stated, if you don't support DACA, you are really what I would call an immigration hardliner and an extremist, because DACA, the Dreamers, the Deferred Actions for Childhood Arrivals program, is for people who were brought here as children under no control of their own. And what you're talking about is, you're talking about sending those children who are now grown up to other nations, other countries, whether it be Mexico or wherever, that they have no fucking clue what is going on there. They didn't grow up there. They're part of our community. They're part of our schools, etc., etc. And not only that, but a lot of people who are part of this DACA program are working people who pay taxes. And so this whole thing of being anti-DACA is amazingly stupid. But does Blaire White know what DACA is? I don't understand. Does she know what Dreamers are? Does she know anything about them? She surely doesn't say anything about them. But I just don't understand that. Why would you be in support of that at all? I don't get it.
Deregulation. I'm a small government girl, and the rollbacks on regulations for small businesses under the Trump administration has been a huge plus for me. There's been several dozen deregulatory actions under the Trump administration, and I think it's something like a 22-to-1 ratio of deregulatory actions to every regulatory action. So I appreciate that. Living.
Okay, this is what towed the line for me. Just there's nothing more intellectually lazy than just saying regulate or deregulate. The whole shtick of essentially I'm for more regulations or I'm for deregulation. It's very vapid and stupid because, and I really thought she was gonna do this, but I guess she didn't. This is the problem, like if you've seen the video clip of Bernie Sanders' town hall, where he's asked by the guy who was some mortgage dude or something like that, and he was maybe a broker, I can't remember exactly, but he claimed to be getting hit by small business taxes and stuff like that, and all these burdens that were hit on him, but he had like some weird business, and it was really dumb because he couldn't name a single regulation that was hurting him. He just kind of blurts it out, and just saying. And by the way, if you were to say that, oh, there's been 22 regulations to 1 deregulation, and that's what I support, I would say that is just pretty much as equally as stupid as saying as there were 22 deregulations to 1 regulation. I support that. I'm a small government girl. That's so fucking stupid. Not only is it stupid, but you're lazy. Like, you're not thinking about anything. You don't even know what you're talking about. What deregulations? How do you know those deregulations are good? How do you know they're good? If you're just being for blanket deregulation is as dumb as being for blanket regulation. It's so stupid. You want to go by a case-by-case basis, and the idea of having the rule of, hey, for every regulation, we're going to deregulate 2 things. It's like, what the fuck kind of shit is that? What kind of a lazy thinking human being do you have to be to say, oh, this is awesome, I'm a small government? That's so stupid, man. And it just goes to show you this, Blaire doesn't know anything at all. It's very clear. I honestly thought she was going to go on to name some because I thought she would have expected this criticism. But all she did was say is 22-to-1. Okay, 22-to-1. What's the regulation? What's the deregulations? Can you tell me? Which ones are they? Because some deregulations are stupid. A lot of deregulations are stupid. The ones that they just did where they were rolling back the regulations on Wall Street after Obama put in, I think it was the Volcker rule that got repealed. Like, it's so dumb, man. Like, deregulation is as dumb as blanket regulation. Okay, so you already know what I'm gonna touch on here. Blaire White is a transgender girl, and what is an obvious crazy part of what she did not mention at all in there is her policy towards transgender people. Not only is it really crazy that the things that he's done with the whole transgender ban when it comes to the military, but the main thing here being that the Trump administration has actually argued. There's a Supreme Court case going on right now. Basically, what they've argued is that businesses can put up whatever kinds of signs that they want to say no gay people or no transgender people, etc., which is really fucking crazy. And so, just check it out. You guys know Caitlyn Jenner. I despise Caitlyn Jenner. She's a conservative, a hard right conservative who's it says she's traditional, but she's a transgender person, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Look, even she was outraged. Look.
I have a message for the trans kids of America. You're winning. I know it doesn't feel like it today or every day, but you're winning. Very soon we will win full freedom nationwide, and it's going to be with bipartisan support. You can help by checking out the National Center for Transgender Equality and letting Washington hear you loud and clear. Now I have a message for the bullies. You're sick. And because you're weak, you pick on kids, you pick on women, or anyone else you think is vulnerable. Apparently, even becoming the Attorney General isn't enough to cure some people of their insecurities. As proof, the Supreme Court will soon hear a very important Title IX case, thanks to the courage of a very brave young man, Gavin Grimm. Mr. President, we'll see you in court. Finally, I have a message for President Trump from, one Republican to another. This is a disaster, and you can still fix it. You made a promise to protect the LGBTQ community. Call me.
It's such a dishonest dodge by Blaire, but people like Shuan Head have tried saying that, he liked transgender people and then took the video down, and it's just embarrassing. Like, Blaire, you don't know anything. Let's keep it real. That was so embarrassing. Just the lack of detail in any way, shape, or form of anything, stating which regulations you're talking about the actual tax cuts, explain why you think corporate tax rates should be dropped. Why do you think that the estate tax should be removed? Do you have any opinion on the deficits that are going to be increased and increased? They're going to be exploded. Do you give any shits about that whatsoever? Because I thought Republicans were huge deficit hawks. But on top of all that, Trump has been an asshole to transgender people the entire administration, and you're completely silent on it. So she went on to rail about partisan hacks, but she didn't even criticize him for that.